districts, and Michigan is one of the only states that has an open enrollment system statewide. So usually it's within a district, but basically entrepreneurial school districts that are on the suburbs of Detroit have started all these new programs and got the state money to follow the kids into these districts, and the charter schools have gotten about 20,000 kids too from Detroit. And so the school district literally is on the verge of collapse, where they're just thinking about they have to close scores of schools because they don't have any students to go to those schools because they're all going somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So when there is real true market competition, I think eventually, even though it's slow, the public schools will close just like any other entity if they lose all their customers. And so I think Detroit is a good lesson that way, is, if they can't compete, then they will fail.
What is a charter school? What is that? What's the difference between a charter school and a regular school? A government school?
Basically a charter school is technically still a public school, but it's freed from all of the kinds of district local regulations. So for instance, if I want to start a Montessori charter school that uses the Montessori curriculum, then I could apply to first the Los Angeles Unified School District and tell them my plan, and then if they like my plan and they vote on it, then they would give me a 5-year contract to operate my charter school. Then I have to attract all my students, so there's no built-in enrollment. So just like a private school, I have to get kids to sign up. And then that state and district funding follows that child into my charter school. So, if I can get 300 kids to sign up for $10,000 each, I could get $300,000 to run my charter school.
So these are public-private partnerships.
Well, it's not a partnership though. It's more like a license. It's if you think of a franchise, the school district or the state has given you a franchise to run your program and have state dollars to do that. The money follows the child just like a voucher or a tax credit. The only difference is that you have to be financially and academically accountable. So a charter school still, if the state has, say we have the STAR testing system here in California, if you academically fail for several years in a row where your kids aren't making progress as a charter school using your own curriculum, so you don't have to follow the standards, you don't have to, you can do whatever you want as long as you can get the district to approve it, but you have to have results in terms of test scores. You're not opting out of the testing system, and you have to have financial accountability. So there was, a huge chain of charter schools here that was closed basically because they were, using the funds improperly, and they had created a lot of companies, and they've tightened up some of the rules. Like anything, when you give out government money, and certainly there's been just this week a bunch of superintendents that have built their school districts for hundreds of thousands of dollars. It doesn't matter whether it's charter or public or private, you have to have some kind of fiscal accountability on public dollars, or some people out there will try to take the money and not do what they say they're going to do with the money. And charter schools have been no exception, but that's really the small minority. There's now about 300,000 kids in the country that are in charter schools, and here in California we have almost 600 charter schools. So there's a very robust system here, and they're like niche schools. There's charter schools that focus on, disadvantaged at-risk kids. There's charter schools that have an agriculture, 4-H focus, or a medical focus, or a science and technology school. It just allows them, if I want a school of the performing arts and my main focus of that school, I still have to teach my kids to read and write and science and history, but we want to produce Grease the musical, and we want to have art exhibits and take our kids to museums because that's our focus. It allows the school to be able to do that.
Well, I think you would agree that we would like to get the government out of it.
Oh, definitely, most definitely.
As an incrementalist, what would your first couple of steps would be to see that happen?
Well, the first thing that I would do, and this is actually happening in some school districts, is I would get rid of geographic residential enrollment in schools and make even all public schools compete for their students so that there would be free flow of students within a school district. So for example, the city of San Francisco, and you never think of San Francisco as being a mecca for markets, but in public school choice they are. They probably have one of the most robust school districts in terms of literally, you can apply to any school within the city school district.
So
And
it's kind of like busing, but it's voluntary.
Well, I mean, but
In some
the
instances.
parents are responsible for the transportation largely. And, obviously if you have a school district like LA Unified School District that's 900 miles wide, that's a different issue in the first place. Should LA Unified School District encompass X number of cities with 900,000 students? And, so that's a different design problem.
Well, I would say yes, I would do it tomorrow. I would say that there
Right.
should be no restrictions and the schools should all be
So
open
that would
to
be the
everyone.
first step, is even in a public school system, right now there is Cincinnati, Houston, Seattle, San Francisco, Oakland. These school districts have decided that they will have the money follow the child. And so they operate within their district. Even though it's a public system, it's like a market. And
So it's not like busing at all.
it's not like busing. You have to
What
get
it is, it's not social engineering. It's the parents individually making individual choices
right.
and taking the
What
responsibility
a
themselves.
concept.
Yeah, exactly. So, if you can't get enough students to come to your school, then, you're going to close. And that's happened in the districts like Seattle and Houston, where they've been doing it for a while, But what's actually happened, like in San Francisco, is that's not what happens. The schools start trying to differentiate themselves, and all of the scores are rising because now, in San Francisco they actually have a group called Parents for Public Schools, and they go around finding hidden gems and marketing these new schools. And so you have, a school like, for instance, Aptos Middle School was this horrible school 10 years ago where they had really high school violence in their scores. They were a 1-1 school. Now they're an 8 out of 10 school in like 4 years. Whereas through the state's regulatory system, where they try to raise a ranking of a school, sometimes it'll be 20 years and that school is still a 1 out of 10.
Now, what about the schools that are doing bad? Are they getting less money from the government? I mean, I know that there are some areas, where the schools are doing very good in affluent areas, and other areas that are poor. A lot of times the schools are doing bad. Is either one getting more money from the government?
There's a lot of in-district discrepancies in funding, and the unions really are to blame for. Yes, if you are low performing, there's assistance programs that give you more money because they want to help you restructure and get your performance up. So there's all kinds of federal and state funding streams that will give you more money if you're low performing. But some of that is because money is attached to kids that qualify for the free lunch program, kids that are English language learners. There's special categorical funds or pots of money that certain groups of students are attached to. So again,
Low performing schools could be getting more money than some of
They
the better
could.
performing
Yeah,
schools.
they absolutely do. But there is huge discrepancies within a school district. Say LA Unified or Oakland. Let's take Oakland schools in the past. They have the Hill schools. And the way the collective bargaining union agreement is that districts don't charge schools for salaries of teachers. So if you have a senior teacher that makes $85,000 and you have a new teacher that makes $35,000, those two are averaged. And each school is charged a district average salary. But the schools on the Hill where everyone wants to work, right, in Oakland, the good schools, they have $50,000, $85,000 students that they're being charged the average for. And it's
But thank you so much for coming out today.
Thanks, Mark.
And thank you very much for coming out
Thank
today,
you for
Dave.
having me, sir.
The Libertarian Party can be found on the World Wide Web at www.lp.org, or you can give us a call at 1-800.
877-884-1776.
That's 1-800-ELECT-US. We'll send you out a free packet of information. And if you'd like more information about the Reason Foundation and some of the things that Lisa has shared with us today, you can find your educational organization at reason.org
right.
on the internet. And thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.